situation that is out of my control, I may be showing emotions that are bad for others. Let's say I am getting too angry on a situation, and this is something others are not understanding. But to my own self, if I understand my anger and I can express my anger in a positive way, that this is making me angry, this is why I'm angry today, for me, that is emotional intelligence. You know why you are feeling something, and you can express it beautifully. So, in a simple word, you can say emotional intelligence is being smarter with your feeling and knowing what you're feeling and why you are feeling so.
Absolutely, absolutely. Depriya, you would like to add something onto it?
I think, Lata's expressed it very beautifully. I'm actually going to talk about the classical definition of emotional intelligence. And I think, since we're talking about emotional intelligence, it's good to even tell the audience where the term originated from. So, way back in 1997, Lata, was it 1997? Yale psychologists, Peter Salovey and John Mayer, they were the ones who really came up with this definition. And they talked about emotional intelligence as being the ability to perceive emotions, to access and generate those emotions so as to assess thought, to understand emotions and emotional knowledge. So they really spoke about connecting with oneself and connecting with others as far as the school book definition goes. But in the context of leadership, the more popular definition came from Daniel Goleman, who spoke about the five components of emotional intelligence, which were basically self awareness, self regulation, internal motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now, if you think of all these, these five components, these are really what an intelligent and emotionally intelligent leader really needs to display in today's day and age. And why just a leader? I would say even a parent or even in personal relationships, these are really the five components that are needed to be emotionally intelligent. And in, very simplistic terms, if we put it, as Lata also mentioned, emotional intelligence really is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions, of course, and also to recognize, understand, and influence the other person's emotions and reactions. So it's really an inside out approach, and that's how I look at emotional intelligence.
I think that was wonderfully explained by both of you, Depriya, Lata. The components, the five components that you mentioned, Depriya, I think they are very essential. Uh, Whether you are an individual or a corporate leader, okay. For I think for everyone, it is really very important. And when both of you said that emotional intelligence is to check and be in control of your own emotions as well as check for others as well. I think that is like a win-win situation for both of us. So Depriya, let me just check with you. In context with the organizations, how do you feel that emotional intelligence is important for the employees? And if yes, how does an individual and organization benefit out of emotional intelligence? Practicing emotional intelligence.
Yes. Very valid question, Manish, and a very important question. So, managing emotions is especially important in work situations because let's look at certain situations where we are under pressure and we tend to react in an emotionally unintelligent way. And all of us have been in any of these situations. So, consider a situation where we are giving or receiving feedback. How do we manage it in a way that it lands gently on the person receiving the feedback? Okay,
Mhm.
when we are giving it, when we are taking feedback from someone, how are we, taking it? So this is a situation where sometimes we can really slip and become very impulsive. Then, when we are meeting tight deadlines, right? We are under so much pressure that sometimes it's very difficult to even manage your own emotions. Forget about managing the other person's emotions,
True.
right? When you're dealing with challenging relationships at the workplace, there's so much of the whole thing of never make a friend at work. That kind of situation is always there, and there are so many challenging relationships. What happens then? How do we keep the unconscious bias out of it and manage to be emotionally intelligent? Then, when you don't have enough resources, when things are in a crunch position, how do you manage and maintain your cool and your emotions? when you're navigating change, what happens then? Are you able to manage your emotions properly? Um, Working through setbacks and failure. So these are some of the situations where we come under extreme pressure, and we are not able to conduct ourselves in a very emotional, intelligent way. And this leads to a lot of repercussions in the organization. Because at an entry level, your IQ and your technical skills are kind of taken for granted. And as you move up, it's really your emotional balance and your emotional skills and your emotional maturity that's a indicator for success. um, how can an emotionally intelligent leader build teams and actually impact the organization is they're able to very, very seamlessly resolve conflict situations, right? They're able to coach and motivate others. They're able to create a culture of collaboration. And what is most important in my mind is that they're able to create a feeling of psychological safety within the teams, and that is really important. How is it? Why would I want to feel safe in an organization? It's only an emotionally intelligent person, or the culture of the workplace should be such that I should be feeling safe to work in that organization.
Right. True.
um, yeah. And statistics also, these days a lot of research is being done around emotional intelligence. And I go back to a 2003 Harvard Business Review, which reported that 80% of competencies that differentiate top performers from others
Hmm.
are in the domain of emotional intelligence.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I was and it, closer to home, more recently in 2016, the World Economic Forum ranked emotional intelligence sixth in the top 10 skills that employees need by 2020 to succeed in the future workplace. And I think when this survey was being done, I don't think they even predicted that we'd be in the middle of a pandemic where we would have to bring so much of our emotional intelligence to the table. So uh, and we have really, really learned in this year how to kind of manage our emotions better.
I think yeah, this year has been tough for everyone, and emotionally, I mean, staying emotionally balanced was one of the key things that we should have practiced, we should have done, we should have told others or motivated others to do that. Now, Lata, let me ask you. Devpriya mentioned about the corporate employee section, right? Okay, and she mentioned about conflicts at workplace. She mentioned about the pressure and meeting deadlines. How do you think the same thing, the deadlines, the pressure, does it really exist in the home front? When I talk about individuals who are self-employed, students, or even housewives, you know, is there a same pattern there as well?
I would say, of course, EI is for all. Emotions are with everyone. This is a universal language, I would say. If somebody smiles here, he smiles anywhere in the world. The meaning is the same, smiling, right? Similarly, any emotions that we exhibit means the same everywhere. We may be in a different environment, we may be at a different location, but if I'm feeling something, it will be same around. So for housewives, for students, or even self-employed, managing their emotions is very, very required. To have better relationship with others, to decide for themselves, to understand themselves as well. So emotions are playing a role, I think, in each and every human body. And as I said, it is a part of human biology. So we just can't remove it from any person. It is, I would say, need of today's time where all of us need to practice emotional intelligence a lot. Be it any person, it is a single human thing that is must today, that we must know how to manage our emotions. Otherwise, the kind of pandemic we have seen in 2020, it has affected every single person around the globe, every single person. We have been talking on webinars, throughout the world, and talking around how to build resilience, how to be more compassionate. So everybody, is talking the same language. Either a person who has lost a job, or people who are good, who have in good health and have their businesses working, their jobs working, still are feeling a lot of anxiety. Still, they are not happy. There's something not good inside us. And this is again, an emotion that is telling us that, we all are suffering around the globe. So, as I say, EI is for all. We just can't say it is only for the corporate world or the people who are working. It is equally, good for, it means practicing EQ is good for individuals, housewives, children, even, children who are at home stuck for last 8, 9 months, have not visited their friends, not going to school, are having same kind of anxiety, and they are more restless than us. So I
Yeah.
have been talking to some of the children who were telling me that, I don't know, at times, I just get up in the night, mid of the night, and I don't know why I'm so restless. What's happening around me? So
Right.
these are the emotions that are playing on us, and we don't know how to manage them because we hardly speak around emotions. We feel, it's very not very open in our society to talk about emotions. Like if I'm feeling to cry, we will be told that no, you shouldn't be crying. This is not a thing to cry upon. So there are so many things that we are, restricted on, that not to share your emotions, not to share your stories all the time, not to share what you are feeling. So we are looking, to build up a space here that people can easily showcase their emotion, easily share what they are feeling, what is going inside them. So this is when, we'll say that we have an emotionally intelligent society. So each and every individual has to be part of it. It is a skill that we all need to learn.
Correct, correct, correct.
That's what I would like to say.
Absolutely. And when you said that, people should be sharing their emotions, and they are deprived of not sharing, or they are being told not to share your emotions. But at the same time, we also, I think all of us have heard about this, that sharing is caring, isn't it?
Right.
So yeah, sharing is caring. Then why are we still not still sharing with other people? I mean, I think it is very important. When I personally feel a little bad about something, or a little stressed out, I would like to have a stress buster around me. For me, yes, sharing, talking to someone can be a stress buster also. But for me, I would like to drive out in a place, alone in my car, listening to some music, and then come back half an hour later, and I'm fine. So that is my stress buster. That is how I relieve my stress. So I think everyone should know also what their stress buster is all about. I mean, that can be very handy for,
That's true.
isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And when you share it with others, they get to learn also that, oh, wow, this is also one way to, just, go around and get your relief to your stress. So, yes, yes,
Absolutely.
sharing help others to learn.
Right. So, Lata, we have spoken about individuals, leaders, and all that, but all these are one part of the story. The other part of the story, as far as the organization is concerned, what role do you think as an organization should play in implementing or practicing EI with their employees within the organization? What do you think about
Yeah, as I said, emotional intelligence is a skill, it needs regular practice.
this?
So
Right.
until unless I'm practicing emotional intelligence, I can't be an expert in it. So organizations you will see these days, are demanding people with high EQ. But if EQ is not being taught in the schools, is not being taught in colleges, is not being taught anywhere in the world, how they are going to learn it? They are just handful people who are practicing AI, who are learning about the subject, and are practicing it on in their day-to-day life. So we are very handful of people who are practicing this. So as an organization, as a management level, we need to provide regular EQ workshops to our employees. We need to provide them with the online tools where they can learn and practice AI, and it should be something regular part of their organization, that this is how we practice it. Then again, we should have forums in place where people can come and openly share their emotions, openly share how they are feeling about a situation. So without judging them, there should be people who are listening to them, who are providing their emotional support to those employees, or even leaders. At times, leaders, I have seen that they feel very lonely at the top. So where would they go? They can't just even share that, my team is not working and what do I do about it? They're
Correct.
not delivering on time. What should I do? So they should also have a space where they can go and openly say that this is what I'm feeling. This is where I'm stuck. And you
Mhm.
would have also heard that, employees never leave organization. They leave managers. They leave their supervisors. So
Absolutely.
it happens only because some emotion is playing a role there, where they are feeling unwanted, they are feeling not anymore.
Right.
These emotions are there. So as an organization, it is our duty, it is, what we need to see is, when we see that after this pandemic, this emotional intelligence is one of the top three skills, I would say, is required by any company, any organization. So it should be given to employees. They should learn the skill and continuously practice it as well. And when we are giving them this platform to practice emotional intelligence, we should also have forums where they can go and discuss about their emotions. Can be openly sharing that, I am having a really bad day. I am not in a mood to work today. What
Correct.
should I do? So there should be a proper support, emotional support given to the employees who are, going through any mental trauma, mental health issues, or depression, or anxiety, or even they are feeling some kind of anger, or there is a team, conflict that happens very normally in any organization. So we should have a space where they can easily share. So if these few things, if organization would do, I think it will boost the emotional intelligence space, and we'll have more emotionally intelligent people around us who will understand each other. This will help in building empathy, having compassion for others, and
Right.
also building resilience in these difficult times. So I think this is must by any organization.
I agree. I agree fully on this, Lata. Because if the organization is compassionate enough to to project themselves as a compassionate organization, I think it builds their brand value also outside in the outside world. People talk about so and so organization is such a compassionate organization. I would like to work for that organization. Something like that. And it builds it. I think it is a great brand strategy also. What do you say, Depriya, on this? Because you are a brand strategist. Do you think this is something which, if comes out in the market for an organization, would boost their name or their productivity or whatever?
Absolutely, bang on actually. And in fact, a lot of organizations are doing some meaningful work around it. I'm working very closely with some organizations because, as you rightly said, Manish, employer branding and leadership branding are two areas of focus that have strongly come out in the past couple of years,
Mm,
more so in this year because of everything that one has gone through. And the focus really is on giving employees the um, the luxury or the safety to express themselves in a very vulnerable manner. So an entire concept of authentic leadership has now come into being, and the boardrooms and the office training rooms are now buzzing with this conversation. I've done a lot of work around this. And if you really create your organization as a safe space to work in, and as Lata mentioned, foster these conversations and encourage training and skill building in these areas, encourage open conversations, then the culture of the workplace will absolutely transform. And the one ingredient that will help this process of transformation is really emotional intelligence. That's how important it is.
I fully agree on this. I think this is something which organizations should implement sooner the better. It's like that, and it is going to help both sides of the coins. And I think implementing emotional intelligence in an organization is a top-down approach, right? I mean, the management, the leader, the senior management has to think about it and start actively promoting emotional intelligence within the organization by practicing themselves as well. I mean, it's by leading by example. That's what I say.
Yes.
Debri, I have an interesting question for you. Okay, all this while, uh, I think everybody here in the audience also would have heard about a term called emotional fool. Okay, now here we are talking about being emotionally intelligent. So how do you differentiate between these two? Enlighten
Yeah,
us, please.
very interesting. Nice question, actually. Um, emotional intelligence is a term often confused with IQ, intelligence quotient.
Absolutely.
It's not so. It's actually the two are absolutely different. So, a person very high in IQ can be an emotional fool, and vice versa, of course. So what really is an emotional fool? I would say that a person who displays emotional intelligence. That person can lead you to think of him as an emotional fool. And what are some of the characteristics of such a person? Yeah, an emotional fool is highly sensitive. Okay, wears his heart on his sleeve. So there's a difference between authenticity and vulnerability, and being an extreme case of emoting at every interaction or under any provocation. um, Such a person tends to be impulsive, not connect thoughts with words,
Hmm.
react easily, is defensive. And I'm sure all of us can think of some people like that, or maybe we've also been that person
Yeah.
sometimes.
At some point in time, yes, sure.
Right. A person who's very unpredictable, right? Such a person is actually known to be an emotional fool, and this person is actually a derailer in an organization. I have known of certain business leaders also who have demonstrated this thing
Correct.
and
Yeah.
these characteristics. And what really happens is, like you said, it's a top-down approach, and
Hmm.
an emotional fool at the helm of an organization can actually be a catalyst for disintegrating the culture of that organization, the harmony of teams, and interpersonal relationships. An emotionally intelligent person is exactly the opposite of an emotional fool.
Hmm.
What does he do? He is aware of his emotions and that of others, right? Is mature. Like technically, as we say, this is a mature person.
Yeah.
He's responsible with his communication, high on interpersonal skills, and also don't forget his ability to network. So you can't be a lone ranger and claim to be a very emotionally intelligent person.
Oh wow, this is very interesting. I mean, I think the definition, at least to me, is very clear, and I'm sure the audience would have also loved the characteristics and would have been imagining some of them near them or within themselves only. It happens because at some point in time, until unless you start learning something, you will not get there. Until unless you learn something. So if people know what exactly is the difference between being emotionally foolish or emotionally intelligent, I think they will take sides for the betterment. They would like to be emotionally intelligent for the betterment. Very interesting. Very
So
interesting.
I would like to add
Yeah,
here,
please, please.
Manish, that
Yeah.
was lovely, lovely, explanation by you, Devpriya. One thing I realized, EI is all about balancing your EQ and IQ. It means that you are using your heart as well as your brain while you are doing something, deciding, building relationship or anything. An emotional fool, I would say, either is you only using heart or only using mind. It is a disbalance or a disconnection between heart and mind. So if a person using, balancing both the things like heart and mind, they are emotionally intelligent. They know when to do what to say or not to say. But
Mhm.
the emotional fools, at times I would say they don't realize what they are doing and why they are doing it.
Right.
So that actually the disconnection between the heart and the mind. I would
Right.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
if you look at the image behind me, you'll see mind and heart. So bang on, actually, Lata, exactly what you've said is one needs to do everything in moderation. So an
Right.
extreme of anything and an extreme of this whole situation of not being aware of yourself firstly leads to you becoming an emotional fool.
Exactly, exactly. I think this is a very interesting enlightenment that we all would have got today. This is very interesting. Lata, let me ask you something from the perspective of uh, you know young leaders. Okay, when I say young leaders, that means the people, the children who are prospective leaders of tomorrow. Okay, what do you think they should be? I mean, should the schools also teach emotional intelligence as a curriculum, as a part of curriculum to the students? And from which age should it actually start? What is your thought on this?
Okay, thank you for asking that question. Something that is I'm really passionate and working day and night towards. So it's like, as I have been part of corporate world for almost 18 years
Yep.
and have done lots of trainings there. So I was also working in the emotional intelligence field, and when I was talking about emotions with people who are already grown ups, like 40 plus and 50 plus people, They
Yeah.
don't really want to change anything. They are like amendment about emotions. They feel like, this is not something we talk, and I don't think, people should talk around emotions. This is not something that should be part of corporate world. But we need people who are, emotionally intelligent. So when I saw children, I also do workshops with children. They are more open. They are ready to learn. They want to really know how to manage these emotions. We never speak around these things with them. So there's a taboo kind of, the boys don't cry, and girls are more, empowered these days, and all those kind of things. It will not happen until and unless we talk around emotions. We teach them emotions. So we
Mm.
are talking that, people should know how to be emotionally intelligent. But what is the way towards it? This is something we have not even, started. So what we are doing at MEK Academy is we are trying to, reach out to schools, train the teachers as well, so that they know how to manage their own emotions. And similarly, at the same time, they will help children to learn their own emotions, learn about emotions, and also manage those emotions. So emotional intelligence is also, a way to learn about emotional literacy, to increase that. And from very, education level, from a very school level, we should start teaching them about different emotions and how to manage those emotions, how to manage different situations. So in a classroom, when we think, all the students are coming from different backgrounds, they have different families, different home environment, and we expect them to learn the moment they come and sit in the classroom. That
Right.
doesn't happen because they all are going through different emotions from their home side.
Mm.
So how to make them comfortable in the class? And teacher who is coming to teach is also bringing in her own emotions, right? So until unless they are on the same page, the learning will not happen. It will only happen the moment we will start talking about, how are you feeling today? A simple word where
Sim-
a teacher and student can connect. The moment they are connected, the learning will happen. The students are ready to learn, and the teacher will also enjoy that
yeah.
learning. So actually, we have to move from those traditional way of teaching to the new modern way of teaching, where everything is open. These days, if you see, the information is on the fingertips for everyone. Even children, they can get answers through Google, and they will just look around and they have the answers for the question they are
Correct.
looking for.
True.
So teachers' role is not just of that, our times where we thought that everything, every answer we are going to get from our teacher. If she or he doesn't know anything, we won't search for the answers. But today children are coming prepared. They are coming to classes with the answers already, ready. They know whole syllabus what is being taught. So they are going a step ahead from their school. They
Mm.
may be, reading the next chapter while the school is in the previous chapter.
Correct.
So
Correct.
how do we manage all this? This can be managed by, inculcating social emotional learning as a part of school curriculum, where we teach gratitude, kindness, respect, responsibility, decision making, and this is all part of emotional intelligence. So
Right.
this is must means, if we want emotionally intelligent society, the corporate world, all the, bigger people who understand emotion, we have to start teaching it from a very younger age. So you asked, what age is good for teaching emotion? So I would say the moment the child is 2 years of age, they start showing emotions. They
Emotions.
show
Yes.
tantrums. They understand emotions. They
Yes.
know when to cry, when to, laugh, when to ask for something. They already understand. So by 2 years of age, we can start doing certain activities that help children to understand their emotions. And by
Right.
the time they start, they come to the age of 8 years, we can speak about it. We can start doing some activities that they can share their emotions. They can tell that this makes me sad, this makes me happy, this makes me joyous. This is the thing I want to do repeatedly. So yes, it is very, very important that we inculcate, EQ at a very early stage, and it
Yeah.
should continue to grow till, we die. It should be
Correct.
there.
Correct. Correct.
Only if we continue it today, it will be something we'll see the results after 10, 15 years down the line. So we have
Correct.
to start now.
Yeah, I think it is very very essential today to catch these young students, young children, and teach them social emotional learning, and as a part of curriculum, and to grow into a better individuals. Actually, I mean, better leaders, better individuals. So since you're so experienced, Lata, in this, what exactly are you doing to implement this in the education sector? Are you doing something on this?
So yes, Manish, MEK Academy, we formed this academy just to work with the schools and colleges. So a major portion that we work is about EQ for education, that caters to school as well as higher education. So right now, as a project, we recently started a social emotional learning teachers training project with 30 teachers, and we are training these 30 teachers on how to inculcate SEL in their classroom. No matter if they are science teacher, math teacher, geography, history, any
Mm,
teacher who is interacting with a student should know some social skills like emotional intelligence skills that they can share with the students and practice themselves as well. So this
right.
is the one project we started recently, and in by 2023 we plan to train 3 lakh teachers in India with the social emotional learning skills. That's the vision we are taking and moving forward with. Definitely we require a lot of support in this area because this is pretty new in India. Still, India has to adopt to this social emotional learning. Not only this, we are also associating with universities and colleges where we are asking trainers to become EI coach and start talking around these things with the students. Because last year when we were working in one of the college with IITians, they said nobody ever spoke about emotions to us. We really don't know what we need, what we want in our life.
Right.
Everybody was telling us to crack the IIT, just get admission there. We got admission. Now what next? We have no idea.
Correct.
So this is not something I might be doing 10 years down the line. So how do I decide what I want in my life? So
Right.
emotions again, play important role here, that what will I enjoy after 10 years? Will I be enjoying the same thing I'm doing today or not? So many parents, are forcing their children to become something, to do
Right.
something in life, but we hardly speak to them what exactly they are looking forward.
Right.
And also, we all agree, down the line, 5 years, we really don't know what kind of jobs will be there.
Correct.
Because every time we are seeing that there are new kind of things coming up and people are becoming billionaires with that. We
Yeah.
had never thought about. So
Yeah.
we have to be prepared with these things that, coming days, in coming months, coming years, the things that are coming up, we have no idea about. So how we will be prepared for it by, just being uh, present in that moment, very moment, being mindful about how things are changing. In last 10 years, we have seen how internet has grown. We have seen how mobile phones have, completely now replaced laptops also.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I found myself doing most of the stuff in my mobile phone rather than opening the laptop.
Correct.
I can work on the go as well. So
Yeah.
things are changing and we have to adapt to it. And EQ is a skill that helps you to adapt to new things very quickly because we understand we cannot change everything, but yes, we can change ourselves to adjust to the new things that are coming up. So definitely, yeah, this is what we are looking as an MEQ Academy. We are working towards EQ for education, and that includes schools as well as higher education. So
Right. I think
that's what I
you are doing brilliant work in making these individuals and the teachers emotionally intelligent and making them aware of how it is going to impact their lives today, tomorrow, or maybe 10 years down the line, right? So, Devpriya, I have related question to this. Now, what she is doing is she is preparing the young leaders, the in the age group of 13, 14, 15, 20, maybe. Okay, but let us talk about the people who probably have not got this opportunity earlier in their life, but they are leaders now. Do you think how emotional intelligence is an essential quality for a leader? I mean, how would they do it? What
No,
should
I feel that a lot of people, most of the people who come to me as clients should actually go through Lata's program first. By the time they
interesting?
by the time they come, they at least have some idea of how to make themselves emotionally intelligent. So we've always had a specific module on emotional intelligence, but in this year particularly, I've seen that I've had to actually launch a new program called the 3E boot camp, which I launched. And what are these 3 E's? It's empathy, emotional intelligence, and executive presence, all bundled into one. So this was one program that I had to, because people came in with strange needs. Work from home. Work from home has always been the desired state for. Forget about women. So those women who had the luxury of working from home are now saying that there are no boundaries, and how do we manage that situation better? All down to emotions. Okay, men who thought that probably their wives or significant others were lucky to have that work from home status are now cribbing that I wish we can go back to work. When I talk about executive presence, see, everyone wants a strong personal brand, right? Today, that pretty much is the buzzword. That leadership brand where you walk into a meeting, the boardroom, or a networking event and you turn heads. Everyone wants to be you, and you're able to influence and impact people. That really is the desired state. But what is it that's going to take you to that state? So, emotional intelligence is a very vital part of executive presence, and the starting point of my programs is basically, whether it's an individual program or a workshop or a group program, is basically based on 3 M's, which is mindset. So the work starts at the mindset level. That really, and people say, how is, people think about personal branding as something which is very outcome based, outward. But the work actually starts with your mindset. That's
Right.
where you dig the fertile soil of your mind, and literally sow the seeds, which then sprout into and take the form of emotional intelligence, empathy, and executive presence.
Right.
It's actually like that. Then you move on to the messaging and the marketing, which are different. So
Correct.
that's how we've been working with people. And what we try and do is, I actually inculcate the Daniel Goleman 5 pillars into training people. So it's basically, the mindset bit touches upon self awareness. Are you in touch with your authentic self? What are your brand values? What is the starting point of who you are? um,
Correct.
your ability to monitor your own emotion state, and actually name the emotions. What are you going through?
Hmm.
Self awareness, and then they're trained on self regulation. The most important thing today is, how do you manage your leadership brand? How do you control your leadership brand? Because the question no longer is, should you have a personal brand? The fact is that you have a personal brand, because at every point in time you're creating perceptions, and in that moment of truth, how is it that you're making the other person feel?
Right.
Again, the basis of this is emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
Then your motivation, empathy. How are you actually able to distinguish between sympathy and empathy? Are you
Hmm.
able to literally put yourself in the shoes of the person in front of you and understand the emotional makeup of other people? It
Right.
really is a life skill. Social skills, the whole dialogue around strategic networking. So I have people coming to me and saying that, I'm an introvert, so I'm not going to be able to do all this personal branding chanting. That's when the conversation comes back to the mindset, is that,
Correct.
look, it's not about you, it's
Hmm.
about them.
Then
you
correct.
know those that need to feed off your expertise, those who really need to hear your message.
Right.
And the minute you actually turn the spotlight from the person to the people that they are trying to serve, that's when they become comfortable. Again, emotional intelligence. So the conversation starts and begins with emotional intelligence, actually, or emotional mastery. Is
Yeah, true. So I, in fact, when I heard you saying about 3 E's, I already have a question. I had a question in my mind to ask you. But when you were talking about 3 E's, there was another question that started popping in my mind, which you already answered before I could even ask. It was the difference between empathy and sympathy. I think it is important to deliberate on this subject also, that being empathetic and being sympathetic are two different sides of the coin, or two different things altogether. People sometimes confuse between this. They say that they are empathetic, but actually in reality they are being sympathetic, isn't it? Have you come across like this sometimes?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, what is sympathy?
Yeah.
Sympathy is actually feeling sorry for somebody,
Correct.
and it's like a bit of a condescending attitude, that, okay, I hear you, I feel sorry for you. That whole, okay, fine, I'm superior, maybe. Um, but what is empathy? Empathy is literally that ability to stand in the other person's shoes, walk a mile in that other person's shoes, and actually feel where the shoe is pinching. That
Absolutely.
is empathy.
Yeah.
That is empathy. To be able to look at things from the other person's perspective. That
Correct.
is empathy.
I think this is
Yeah, and
important
I
for.
think
Yeah, say
Manish, a
Lata, please.
simple example, of sympathy and empathy. Like I'm being very sympathetic these days with all the farmers sitting on road, and protesting. That's
Correct.
the sympathy I have for them. But
Yeah,
if I have to see empathy, people who are standing for them, who are doing every bit for them so they are comfortable. That is empathy, where you can see people are, standing and talking with them, giving them all things that they need. So I am being just sympathetic, thinking that the situation is bad, doing nothing about it, and feeling bad also that why we don't, think on things, why we don't go towards the solution. So that's
right.
the kind of sympathy most of us have. But people who show empathy are on the ground, are working with them, standing for them, talking on behalf of them. Something like a very hot topic these days. So that's why I take that example.
Ah,
So sympathy is simply, feeling that yes, this is right, this is wrong, and doing nothing about it. But empathy is something where you take actions, where you show what you can do in that situation.
absolutely, absolutely. I think ground reality and imagination are two different things, right? This is how empathy and sympathy should probably work. Devpriya, I have another question for you. I think how do you help the business corporate leaders you work with to develop a high degree of emotional intelligence? You must be coming across people. You are doing it with leaders. So how do you do that actually?
So, Manish, the first thing is actually to make them aware of the fact that, it's basically going back to Simon Sinek's Start With Why. All of us have kind of read that book or we watched the TED Talk. The first conversation that needs to be had with them is around the why. All the things that we discussed from the beginning of this session. Why is it important? Why is it important for a person to be emotionally intelligent? Why is it important for a person to for a leader to demonstrate emotional intelligence? Once the why is demystified, I think people buy into the concept of the how. And the how is what I already spoke to you about, the 3M process. I do a very interesting exercise with them, and it's derived from a person, Joan Rosenberg. Her whole conversation around emotional intelligence. And what she says is, to quote her, she says that if you can experience and move through eight unpleasant feelings, you can do anything you want in life. So this is actually an exercise that I do with both corporate and business leaders. And she talks about it as a Rosenberg reset. So it's very interesting, and I'm just going to take a minute to actually
Sure.
talk about what it is. So she says that it's about one choice, eight, eight unpleasant feelings, and 90 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so just stay with me. The choice, that one choice, is to stay present in the unpleasant. Okay, to actually allow those feelings and to literally acknowledge that you're in an unpleasant situation instead of numbing or pushing the emotion aside. So when we are faced with a situation, our two reactions are either fight or flight. Okay.
Right.
So here, the choice that you're making is to stay where you are. Not take flight, but stay where you are. What are the eight unpleasant feelings? They are sadness, shame, helplessness, anger, vulnerability, um, embarrassment, disappointment, and frustration.
Right.
So when you're confronted with any kind of a challenging situation, these are the emotions that you go through.
True.
The 90 seconds is the time to take for the neurochemicals to what is called rush and flush as a physical experience in the body.
Right.
Okay. So rather than placing these unpleasant emotions in the category of bad feelings or negative, a simple shift in language to reframe these to be experiences that you need to go through, you know um, that is required. And I take my clients through this. It's literally like when you have an injection, you
Yeah.
brace yourself, you brace yourself to take that shot, and you either look away or look at it depending on what your ability to handle situations is. And then just when that feeling is going, you're literally feeling it, you can't help it. And then moving on from that situation. Then so this and that and when you go through this, and when you actually this is how you can literally come to terms with your emotions, the different ranges of emotions. and you allow it to wash over you. That is then followed by resilience.
I think
That's what you take away. Then I also tell them to focus on authenticity, dare to be vulnerable, and also to focus on building strategic network. So your network is your net worth, and that's something that I train them on how to strategically build a leader's network.
correct.
So these are some of the things that we do. Powerful work, and it's sometimes difficult. It's easier to sort of it's very difficult to help people unlearn.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when you're at a certain stage and age, you've already experienced so much of success, professional success, but you really can't put your finger on what is really not going right.
Right.
And that is that whole mindset training and coaching.
Correct. Correct. I think absolutely right. I think you have explained it so beautifully. Learn, unlearn, learn, unlearn. It should be the cycle that one should regularly go through. Because this is very important for yourself to keep your emotional what do you say, emotional fangs, being refreshed every now and then, so that you are aware of everything, and you're working on your brain. I when I talk about mindfulness to people, I talk about going to a mind gym. They go, when I ask them, if you go to a gym, they always think the first thing that comes to their mind is the physical gym, where they go and pick up weights or do cardio or treadmill or something like that, right? But when I talk about, I tell them that, I'm talking about mindfulness here. So it is the mind gym. Have you ever heard about it? Because mind is also something that needs to be repaired and rewired every now and then. I mean, it is probably a process, one of the processes of being emotionally intelligent, mindfulness.
Absolutely. Very, very true.
Right,
That's what this year has also helped us to do with.
Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, so we are at about 50 minutes now. Before we ask the audience their questions, to tell them to ask their questions. Okay, one quick question to both of you. We have done so much of work together. I mean, you've done so much of work in the field. Okay, is there a book that you recommend to our audience, and why would you do that? Lata, I will start with you now. Could you hear me?
Shilpa, could you put yourself on mute, please? Thank you. So I'll put it in the chat box. I'm talking about At the Heart of Leadership: How to Get Results with Emotional Intelligence, which is a much more relaxed read. And there are many TED Talks. So if books are not your thing, you can actually access some TED Talks. There's a very good one by a person called, he's a psychologist and author called Guy Winch. Again, I'll put this in the chat. Which talks about why we all need to practice emotional first aid. I really loved it. This whole concept of emotional first aid. So I'm just going to put this in the chat box, and Lata can maybe talk about her recommendations. Lata.
Lata, you are mute. You are on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry, yeah. So I'm saying that we have taken over and we are sharing the book name here. So it's like it is like you can practice EQ a lot. The theory is available and you can read a lot many books around EQ. But one book I would definitely want to share with you here, where you can actually practice EI, is the EQ Gym workbook. It's a workbook by Joshua Fredman, and it is available in a Kindle edition as well. So I'll share the link with you. And it has
Yeah.
really helped me personally, because every time I open this workbook and every time I do these exercises, somewhere I practice my own EQ. I practice on my own emotions. So this is really good book. So this is the EQ Gym book, Gym workbook by Joshua Fredman, who's a CEO of 6 Seconds as well, and Natalia Rotman is a co-author. So make sure you read. I would say
Absolutely.
practice this book. So here's a link here.
That would be wonderful.
It's a
Yeah,
Kindle
thank you.
edition.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, so it's just 449, and have it handy. And if you really want to practice EI, this is one book I recommend. And go through it. If you find any difficulty, you need my help, I'll be more than happy to help you to
Perfect.
use book,
Thank
because
you.
I have been using it for 1 year now, and it has been really good, helpful book for me to practice EI.
That would be great. Thank you, Devpriya, and thank you, Lata. I was off for about couple of minutes. My connection snapped. I'm not sure what happened, but yeah, I'm back now. So I would let us go to the audience now and see if there are any questions in the chat box that we can really talk about. Um Okay, there is a question from Shashikant Upadhyay. How do a HR professional balance, or maybe I can ask Shashi to unmute himself. Shashi, can you please ask this question yourself? It would be great.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for giving this opportunity. So basically, I'm also HR professional. So we usually observe that whenever an employee is having an issue or problem or something, so they would reach out to HR usually. They will write a mail. So for them, we are their stress busters, right? So
Right.
they will show us everything, and we have to listen to them calmly, and we try to bring to them to a negotiable situation so that we can manage everything. Now as a human being, because although we are into HR and other things, but we do have emotions, right? We do
Right.
feel bad sometimes. So just wondered from the experts if there are any special tips or anything you recommend, out of your expertise and experience, you might have interacted with the HR professionals as well. So what is that mantra, so that at least that will actually help the HR professionals in managing these emotions,
Great,
especially
great,
at the
great,
work.
Shashi. I think Devpriya would like to answer this one, I guess. So Devpriya, can you? I'll just mute him. So what he's saying is that a lot of people come to him as an HR professional with their problems and everything, but HR guys are also human beings. Where would they go to? What is that secret mantra? Yeah, please.
Yeah, yes. So you're very right, Shashi. I mean, I completely feel what you're going through, because we've all, in my corporate career also, so many times we've just thought that if there's any issue, HR is the troubleshooter. So you go and just sit with them and take out all your frustration on the poor HR people. But the mantra that I wouldn't say that there's any mantra, but the advice I would give you is that you should take yourself out of the situation. Look at it in a very dispassionate manner, and don't bring yourself into the equation, right? So the issue is between two external people, and see how you can help troubleshoot for them. um, how do you negate or push down your emotions and your unconscious biases towards the people? Like you said, HR is human too, so sometimes we come with as an HR person, you would come with your feelings towards certain people. So the whole idea is to keep that out of the equation, and dispassionately analyze the situation and come to a conclusion. So that's something that you would really need to do. And this whole concept of being able to walk in their shoes. We spoke a lot about empathy. Instead of making them wrong, try and stand in their shoes and feel how they must be feeling for them to have escalated the matter to you. That again is very, very important.
Right, right. So empathy, be empathetic in your approach, right? That's what you're
Yeah,
suggesting.
got your point. Got your point. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
One
you.
more
Thank you,
thing,
Shashi, for asking the question. Yeah.
one more thing I want to add on to this, Shashi, is that a mentor needs a mentor too. So similarly, I would always advise that as an HR professional, you have your mentor, or ideally, it's an ideal situation if you can find it in your own manager. But have a person that you can go and take your problems to. Also, at end of the day, otherwise. You can't be a punching bag without exploding yourself. So
Yeah.
uh, To avoid that situation, you should also have your sounding person or sounding board.
Right. I'll ask another question to Lata. In the meanwhile, Depriya, there was a message. Sorry, Shashi. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the.
Thank you, Shashi, for your question. Depriya, I'll ask another question to Lata, but in the meantime, somebody has asked you to mention your books in the chat box, please. The books you recommended, please. Okay. Shivani, are you there? Can you please unmute yourself? Shivani Yadav, can you ask your question? Though it was answered very beautifully earlier by Lata, but if you have anything more to ask, please ask. Okay, Shivani, I guess, I mean, it's showing there, but I don't know if she's there.
She says she's in office, so she can
Okay,
only chat.
okay. Fine. That's okay. That's fair, Shivani. I'll read out this question. Whether there's emotional intelligence training required, looking at the current trends of advancing technology. Due to technological advancements, competitive world, hardly we have time to think of our emotions, as in emotions are not part of our life. So how can we make this EI really serious for everyone in order to establish a peaceful world? Did you get this question, Lata?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
please.
this is a lovely question, we know we have been doing this, saying this, we all understand how important emotions are in our life, but we are only ignoring it. And one thing that happens with emotions, the more you ignore it, the more it intensifies. So a simple, irritation can lead to a rage. How it happens is, when you start getting irritated by something or annoyed by something, and you continuously ignore that one emotion, it will convert slowly into anger, frustration, and
Right.
slowly, it will convert into rage, and you will not realize that how it happened. So similarly, if you want to learn about your emotions, yes, trainings are required. It is required because we have lost the touch with our emotions. It is a natural thing in us. We all are emotionally intelligent, but mostly we are on our autopilot mode. We are using emotions but reacting with that emotion. We are not even giving a pause to think why we are reacting in this way, right? So, yes, the world is becoming more and more technical. We are running behind technology. We are so busy with technology, but in all these time, emotions are playing its role. So to learn about those emotions, we have to start from somewhere. We have to revisit us. We have to, start a journey of inward now, going inside us. We have already been outside. We have been looking for solutions outside, but we have to go inside us. And that can only happen when we start learning about our own emotions. So whenever you are in a situation where you don't understand, why it is happening with me, what is going around with me, and why I'm not in control of this, just take a pause. Just be with that emotion, that what you're feeling, why you're feeling that. So even if you start with this practicing, you will again be in touch with your own emotions. And emotions are very, very powerful. They are data. They are telling you what you need in a situation. The more you ignore your emotion, you are getting into a direction where you don't want to be. So
Ab-
just work with your emotions and you will have solution to everything in the world. Everything. Take
Right.
my word here.
Right.
All
Thank you so much.
solutions are within us.
Yeah, thank you, Lata. I think Shivani, she has answered your question. You can write it in the chat box that it was okay for you. One last question I would like to take. That's all, and then we will end this session. And I would like to assure the audience and the participants here that if there are any questions left unanswered, we'll make sure that we'll send the answers through your email to you. Okay. So the last question I would like to take is from Monica. Monica, can you be online, please? Can you just unmute yourself? Monica Mahajan. Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Monica. Yes, please. And your question is to whom, please?
So this is to Devapriya. She was talking about some, that game that she plays with her clients, and there are 8 negative emotions which come up during that time. So if she could just give us a little, expanse on those 8 emotions.
Yeah. Do you want me to type it out or okay? So
If you could
basically,
just run through them quickly.
yeah. So basically, these are the 8 typical emotions that are felt by the different kinds of emotions that wash over us when we are going through a challenging situation, and all of us are kind of susceptible to it or prone to feeling this way. So what are those 8 emotions? They are basically sadness, shame, and that's a big part of we feel a lot of shame in in our leadership positions for the whole imposter syndrome that sets in. So helplessness in a situation where you're not able to control the outcome of a situation, you do feel helplessness. Anger is, I think if we can manage our anger, that's one very strong step towards being emotionally intelligent. Vulnerability, are we sort of strong enough to express our vulnerability such that it doesn't hurt other people? Embarrassment, disappointment, and frustration. So according to Rosenthal, she basically talked about these 8 feelings of uh, these negative emotions that we allow ourselves to feel and not to run away from.
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for this question, and thank you, Devpriya, for answering this question for her. And I'll, as I said, I will get through these questions which are in the chat box left unanswered, and we'll make sure that we answer them. Thank you so much, Devpriya. Thank you, Lata, for being here with us. And it was a wonderful session. I'm sure the audience would also be feeling the same as I am feeling. So much of learning, so much of interaction. Thank you so much. And we'll take a leave from you now. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you for
Thank you so
having us
much.
here. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Lata.
Thank you, Devpriya. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
Manish.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.
Take care.
Nice session it was.
Thank you. Thank you.